Wales fielding a young team, but it was Italy who came of age as a rugby nation. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Italy showing attacking intent early on in this one, running the ball, finding space, especially out in the tram lines there, getting to the edge of that Welsh defence and just looking like they're on it. They managed to force a penalty. Garbisi opens the scoring from the tee and it's 3-0 to Italy. Wales then come on attack. They're looking a little laboured with the ball. Thomas drops it. It's hacked forward by Italy. Nork gets there first, but he's isolated and gets pinged for holding on. Garbisi splits the posts and doubles the lead to 6-0. And, both sides of the ball, Italy looking the better team. Lewis then gets pinged in the scrum, and Italy very pleased with their efforts. And, you can see with all the pats going around and stuff that they're really up for this game. They then get themselves within 5 meters after good work from Garbisi, Menoncello, Ioane and Ruzza. Some lovely offloads and a very flowing move from them. They have penalty advantage, but they continue to attack. They spread the ball and Wales drift and they actually overdrift as Italy have men out wide, but then Ioane comes back against the grain and goes over to score. Garbisi misses what was a very simple conversion, especially for him, but it's still 11-0 to Italy. Another scrum penalty then allows Italy to kick into 22. Wales defence, though, forces them back out of that 22. Garbisi then puts a very bizarre cross kick in. Like, he had a pretty good game, but it was a weird kick. It was basically behind all of his own players, and he almost put Welsh wing Rio Dyer away to score. Like, if he had held that ball, there was nobody going to stop him, I think, with his pace. Reffel then managed to strip the ball into tackle, and Wales break through Tomas Williams. North onto North, but then Lamro managed to get over the ball to win a penalty. But you can see a little bit of danger there from Wales, but I thought the scramble from Italy was very good. And kind of one thing that is maybe one of the many things that are different about this Italy team compared to even like the Crowley period is stuff like their scramble seems to be of a higher quality. Winner and Costello then just get in each other's way under a high ball, causing a knock-on. They had plenty of time. There's no Italians coming anywhere near them, but wherever miscommunication or wherever led to a basically they almost ran into each other. Then we have that chance for Italy from the scrum because Wales hold them out and then they force them to kick. Wales clear, but Italy look like they've got more scores in them in this one. Wales is trying to move the ball as the half draws to a close, but just too many handling errors to make much progress. They do, though, win a penalty a few minutes to the break, and that allows them to go up the line. They go to the back of the line out, but knock it on, and in half-time is 11-0. Into the second half, Rio Dyer breaks down the left wing at the beginning of the second 40, and Wales have some momentum, but Beard then gets pinged for a neck roll at the breakdown. Italy go up the line and they then strike from that line out in their own half. Brex puts Ioane through a gap, gets it out to Pani on the wing, and then he just steps back inside. It takes about 3 Welsh defenders out of it and goes over to score. Garbisi converts from the touchline and it's 18-0 to Italy. And you're thinking at this stage, like, Wales, we know games can switch momentum very quickly, but they're going to have to do something soon, or it feels almost like game over already. Wales, though, they have a penalty. Costello decides maybe with that pressure, thinking that, you know, they've got to try and go right for the corner. He aims it for the corner but misses, and Ioane then is able to clear. But Wales they've got a line out, but it's nowhere near as close as they thought it was going to be. Like, he was basically trying to put it, you know, right at the flag so that they would be 5 meters out. Then from there, Grady spills the ball, and like, it was not far from the line. Like, they'd worked it up to about 5 meters out from the line. He spills the ball forward. Seems like he's frustrated, because then immediately puts in a high tackle as he tries to make amends, and Italy are able to clear. Wales come again, but then Brex gets over the ball to win a penalty. He's been, you know, he was excellent in the game, and he was excellent for the whole tournament as well for Italy. Wales come again off the back of a scrum, but then they get pinged for in at the side, and, you know, coming into the game a little bit, but you feel like they need a little bit more accuracy in their play. And, you know, that's been kind of Wales, I think, throughout the tournament as well, is that they haven't been able to you know, bring their accuracy for the entire 80 minutes or even anywhere close to majority of the game. You then have a period of kind of pinball, and we have a collision between Grady and Pani. We have a TMO review because it's obviously a head-on-head hit, but it gets ruled accidental. I thought really good from Reynal asking, you know, the TMO to play it at full speed, because a lot of the time you see people, you know, when it's slowed down, it looks like, you know, there's plenty of time for Pani to maybe adjust as he's going in, because it looks like, you know, Grady has just about gotten control of the ball at the time of impact, but then you see it in full speed and you go, yeah, no, no way you could do anything about that. You know, even it's the kind of one where even if you're walking down the street and there's somebody like just coming at normal walking pace, how close those two were, you're not getting out of each other's way, and that's these two were just going, like, you know, there's a ball free, you're going for it, and that's what your team expects you to do. So I think very good decision, a very good refereeing there. Like, you know, we've had a lot of kind of griping from people from every nation, I think through the Six Nations, about the quality of the refereeing, but we very rarely see you know, the referees being praised for when they get things right, and I think that's a shame, and I think we should kind of promote more of that. That, you know, we highlight the good refereeing and the bad refereeing, because that's one thing. You know, if you compare officials to players, you'll see, you know, on Twitter or wherever, mention of players doing good things and bad things, but referees, it's always just bad things. So I think well done to Reynal and his officiating team. I think through this weekend as well, officials have been pretty good. I know there was like criticism from a lot of the partisan teams over the weekend, but I thought that they actually went fairly well on the balance. But from here then, when we restart, Grady and Rowlands, they get Wales on the front foot, win it, and D then combine to put Dyer through a gap, and they get in behind. He finds Tomas Williams, but he gets snagged by Ross Vincent just before the line, and Vincent did so well to get back. He made up so much ground to snag him, and then he was able then to flip around and Wales get over the ball and win the turnover there as well. Lamoureux kicks it clear, doesn't really make much distance, and I think it was Garbisi was telling him, you should just pass the ball to me. I think Lamoureux just wanted to get it out of there, but Wales then from the line out, they maul it close to the line, they have penalty advantage. Elliot D drives over with you know, a little help from a couple of battalions defenders actually, because he seems like he's tackled, but then they lift him up again, and then some Welsh players come in behind them and push him over. So TMO review, they decide that the try is good. You know, I know the commentary were mentioning double movement and etc., but I think it's the fact that the Italians lifted him off the ground first. It wasn't like he was forcing himself up. That meant that the try was good. Costa converts, and we're at 18-7. Wales finally on the board in the game. Wales now, they're beginning to win some penalties, and it's given them, a little bit of momentum in the game. But then Italy win a penalty of their own as Hardy offside from a kick. Garbisi slots that one, and it's 21-7. And it felt like it was important for them, to respond really to that Welsh score and not, go get stuck in this kind of thing of trying to defend a lead, because if Wales had scored next, then it becomes, very, very kind of dicey for them then, because then it's a one-score game if Wales get over for a try. Then they win another penalty, and it's Garbisi who actually wins it this time. He gets over the ball at the breakdown. Wales were looking a bit laboured in attack at that stage. It's a bit far out for Garbisi, so Pagerello, I can't remember how they were pronouncing it, because I would call him Pagerello, but Pagerello or something. He steps up and slots it for 24-7, and you feel like now Italy have a little bit of breathing room. There aren't that many minutes left in the game. Wales, though, get themselves into good position after a scrum penalty. They work it up to the try line, and they lose it over the line, but they had penalty advantage. Wainwright then goes close, and then Rowlands finally drives over to score. And just as Lloyd is taking the conversion, then George North has to be helped off the field. But Lloyd's conversion makes it 24-14, but it's a sad end to George North's Wales career. What a player he's been for them down through the years. Like, he's, of his generation, certainly one of the best and most exciting players that we've seen. And, it's been, I feel lucky to have seen a player of his quality so many times in so many different games as well. And although he's still going to be continue playing rugby, no longer for Wales, so he's certainly centre didn't have the impact that he did on the wing, but still just what a great player that he was, and best luck to him in his future. From here then, clock is in the red. Wales looking to run the ball out of their own 22, not really making any progress, so they try a speculative dink over the top. Grady gets there first, lovely little football skills from him, nutmegs the cover, and then the ball pops up nicely for him to go over under the post. Lyles adds the extra for 24-21. Italy win. Scoreboard makes it look a lot closer than it really was. But last game of the tournament, and there was no real threat of Italy losing the game anyway, so I don't think they'll be too bothered about the actual margin in the end. We're going to have a look at some of the stats, so let me pull them up here. But as I said, like Italy, they've just after the World Cup, I felt very frustrated at the World Cup, because I've been banging a drum about Italy from the time that I've made this account, wherever it is now, a year and a half ago. But even before that, just in discussions with people as well, I've been banging about the fact about Italy and about rugby in general, that this whole thing about relegating them, etc., that for me, that's not the way forward, because you have to think about it in terms of rugby as a game needs to grow, and we're not going to grow the game by keeping it as like a ring-fenced thing where existing rugby nations are always the only ones at the top. And when I say the existing, I mean like the traditional Five Nations teams plus the likes of South Africa, New Zealand, and Australia, right? So those would, I'd say, are the traditional rugby nations. That you don't grow the game by just trying to keep those teams at the top all the time. You grow the game by making it popular in more and more countries, and I don't feel like you do that by, you know, taking a team like Italy and relegating them to a lower level of competition, because then what you see then is, you know, people in that country are going to lose interest in the game, and the team that comes up, you know, if it's Georgia or whoever, might then get relegated the next year. And if teams are yo-yoing up and down into the Six Nations, I don't see how you properly, you know, create interest. What I'd be more interested in is maybe the Six Nations taking the Euro Championship, the one that's below the Six Nations, that Portugal and Georgia are actually playing in it today. I'm recording this on this, like, obviously on the Sunday that this goes up, but you know, the teams playing there, like Portugal, Belgium, Poland, Georgia, etc. Six Nations taking those teams under their wing, and then having a long-term plan in terms of like developing those teams and developing those markets for rugby. But the problem is the Six Nations is owned by the Six Nations teams, and it's not in their interest to promote these other teams, because then you do have that idea of relegation coming in. And what if Wales got relegated this year, right? They're already in huge financial problems, and then you're taking away, like, you know, next year they would have had how many games did they play in the Principality this year? Let me actually quickly check that if I can. But you know, you're taking away like either 2 or 3 home games for them. I know that, like, you know, they'd be playing Ireland at home. They played Scotland at home this year, so Scotland away. They'd be playing England at home and France. Yes, so they're playing, I think, Ireland and England over in Cardiff, and they're 2 big games to them. Like, you know, England are their big rivals, and take away those games from them, and that's a lot of money that they're losing out on. Because if it was England versus say Portugal, who are an exciting team, doesn't mean that you're going to fill out the Principality Stadium, right? So I don't get this whole thing of relegating, you know, the calls to relegate Italy, etc. But what I'm trying to get at here is that somebody in World Rugby or somewhere needs to have an overall view, and I don't see World Rugby taking that lead that they should, in terms of looking at all of the competitions that we have and trying to get some kind of alignment there, that you can see pathways for teams like Georgia or Portugal or Spain, Belgium, Poland, Germany, etc., to work their way up to a level where, you know, they could be involved in some kind of expanded Six Nations tournament, and whether that means that we've got to lose the existing tournament as, like, you know, one pool of teams, maybe that's something in the future that they've got to have a look at, because I don't like the idea of promotion relegation again, because I think that you could be killing off a union by doing that, you know, given the finances that are available at the moment. But if you had a long-term view of, this is what we're going to plan and this is how we're going to bring these teams on, I think that would be much better. And it doesn't just apply to Europe, it applies to the entire world. If you get to the point where, you know, rugby is popular, rather than being popular like in 8 countries, rugby is popular in, you know, 50, 60, 70 countries, then your market for the game is absolutely huge. Six Nations, you know, becomes an absolute behemoth of a tournament, and there's enough money to go around for everybody, but you have to grow the entire pie rather than kind of looking after your little slice, and nobody seems motivated to do that at the minute. Anyway, that's kind of an aside. I didn't plan to talk about that at all in this video. It was just the fact that I was waiting until the statistics loaded, but I think they're up now, so we can have a talk about that. So first off, we start with possession. So Wales was 61% to 39, but didn't, again, they look very laboured when had the ball for the most part, and kind of a little bit out of ideas, and you know, not really stretching that Italian defence. You know, most of the time they had the ball. Territory then 56% to 44. Again, you know, Italy doing well when they got into the red zone, and also, you know, taking their points when they came, you know, when they had the chance as well to kick for the post, I think was very important. We're going to look then at overall attack. So tries scored, 3 tries to 2 in favour of Wales, but Wales scoring those, you know, 2 late tries really to skew that a little bit in their favour. But again, for the most part, Italy looked the more dangerous of the two teams. Carries 165 to 84, meters carried 825 to 476, meters gained 428 to 305. So if you look at that, like, you know, meters gain per carry, as it were. I haven't actually worked it out, but just looking at the stats, I can see that Wales are, you know, round about the 3 meter mark, whereas you know, like 3 meters dead almost, and then Italy are closer to 4 meters per carry gained, and you know, that was kind of the story of the game in terms of the impact, I think, of their players for most of it. Line breaks then 6 for Wales and 5 for Italy, but again, Italy's scramble, especially early on, preventing, you know, Wales from taking those opportunities. Defenders beaten 28 to 18. So again, you know, Wales beating defenders, but not really looking very dangerous when they did. A lot of it was they'd make a break down the wing, and then there wouldn't be enough support there, and it would be very slow ball on the recycle, and then Italy's defence would be reset once they did get it there. Total pass then 234 to 95. Offloads 5 from Wales, 6 from Italy. Some really good offloads from Italy in the build up to their tries as well. Handling errors then 18 from Wales, just 9 from Italy, and that extra accuracy as well really helped Italy out and helped them be more clinical than we've seen them you know, in previous tournaments. Turnovers conceded then 13 for Wales, 12 for Italy. And then we're going to have a look now at the kicking stats. So kicks in play, 30 for Wales and 36 for Italy. Italy, I think, for the second game in a row, you know, kicking more than their opposition. And last year, or any time on the Crowley, we would not have seen that at all. There would have just been crazy moments where they're trying to run it out of drawing 22 and maybe conceding a couple of scores across the tournament because of it. But kicking meters then 766 for Wales, 914 for Italy. Again, you know, outdoing Wales in terms of kick meters as well. And that, you know, extra ability to be able to you know, to vary their game has just made Italy so much more of a dangerous team with ball in hand as well, because it means that the defense has to take, you know, the option of a kick seriously when Italy have the ball, whereas under Crowley it felt like you could almost ignore the kick and just you know, bring everybody into your defensive line and maybe just keep one person back in the backfield. Onto defense then, if it will load for me, there we go. Okay, tackles made 99 for Wales, 216 for Italy, and tackles missed 18 to 28. Tackle percentage 85% for Wales and 89 for Italy. So Wales round about kind of a, you know, a pass marker a little bit below, and you know, Italy if you're getting anywhere near 90%, it's an excellent defensive effort, at least in terms of the first up tackles from the team. Onto discipline then. 13 penalties conceded by Wales, 9 by Italy. So keeping it in single figures is generally what teams try and do at test level, and getting on the right side of the referee is definitely what Italy wanted to do. Free kicks then, just 1 conceded by Italy between the two teams, and no cards for either team there. Onto the breakdown then. Rooks won 139 to 61, and then Rooks lost 9 by Wales and just 3 by Italy, and that's big credit to them, because we know that one part of Wales' game has been their competitiveness at the breakdown. And then Rooks from 0 to 3 seconds, 49% for Wales and just 30% for Italy. So Wales on the balance of having more quick ball, but again not being able to do anything against it or about it. And I think it speaks, one, in terms of where they are in terms of their own development, but also the work rate of the Italians to be able to get it back into the defensive line and make it more difficult for them to pick holes as well. And then Italy being able to do pretty well with relatively slow ball as well. Like 45% of Italy's rooks were between were over 6 seconds, and a lot of teams would struggle to create anything at all with such slow ball. But so again, you got to give credit to them for how good they've been in the game and over the tournament. Scrums won then, 4 for Wales, 6 for Italy. Italy losing 1 scrum, but I think on the balance they were the better team in the scrum overall. They won a couple of penalties there. Lineouts won then, 19 for Wales, 13 for Italy. No lineouts lost and no lineout steals for either team in this one. The lineout generally plays a big part in the Six Nations. In this game wasn't as influential maybe as we've seen it in other games, but I think both sets of coaches would be happy with how their lineouts went overall in this game. Now let's just talk about the overall for the team. So Wales, young team, it looks like they've got some real prospects in there as well, some players who've really stepped up once they've been given the opportunity, and a few more players who maybe need that experience, a few more caps, get them into like double figures, or add another 10-15 caps to them, and I think you're going to see some really decent test players coming out of that. But again, kept scoreless for a half of rugby, and that's definitely something that they got to fix. You're not going to win many games if for an entire half of the game you're not scoring a point, whether that's the first half or the second half. The 2 late tries as well made this game look a lot closer than it was. Gatland, he offered his resignation after the game, but that was rejected. I'm not sure the WRU could afford to accept his resignation given the financial woes, and I don't want to say something bad about Gatland in terms of that. I think he made the offer thinking that they wouldn't accept it, if you know what I mean. But I don't mean that he was being disingenuous with it. I think he was fully prepared that if they did accept it, to just go, okay, yeah, that's fine, let's move on. But for me, I'm still not convinced that he's the guy to bring this crop of players on. But I have to look at it, I suppose, from the point of view of a Welsh fan, and the way for me to do that is to think about, well, let's say Ireland were in the same position at the moment, and there was a prospect of Joe Schmidt coming back in to bring back that organisation, and to do what he did by, not just sorting out the team itself, but sorting out the entire system as well. I'd have maybe misplaced confidence in him being able to do it, because again, I still feel like that for a coach going back into, you know, whether it's a region, a province, or you know, a national team, I don't think it's the right move. I think there was a reason why the coach left the role, you know, at the end of the first tenure, and I'm not sure whether that then can be fully kind of put aside in the second tenure, because, you know, you have to remember that you're dealing with people, and there are going to be players and backroom staff and support staff and coaches and etc. around, either from the person's first period, or who come in, you know, after their first period, with the remit to basically change things from what was going wrong at the end of their remit, and then potentially you've got to change things back to the way that coach likes things. So, you know, it's difficult to see it working, but again, I can see where the belief from Wales fans would come from, especially when you look at your entire organization and think, like, we're absolutely in it up to our necks at the minute, and you've got this guy who, you know, took, you know, what was a very good crop of players, but I think made them better than the sum of their parts as well. And he has, you can't just say that he had a great generation of Welsh players. I think he very definitely played his part in lifting Wales up and delivering huge success. Like, we look at kind of a golden period for Ireland, but, you know, Gatlin delivered even more for Wales when he was there. So I can absolutely understand where Wales fans would still have that belief in him, but, you know, I guess time is going to tell on that one. On to Italy then. They put in, I think, a very mature performance today. You know, and it does feel, like I said at the start, that, you know, they're coming of age as a rugby nation, and it's great to see. And I went on my little rant about things, my unplanned rant, but most of my videos are unplanned anyway, about kind of their place in the world of rugby. But they look comfortable for most of the game. Finally, great to see the Menoncello-Brex midfield combination looking to be settled, because, you know, I've been banging a drum for this as well, that those two together just look, you know, made for each other in that midfield. And having to see lots of chopping and changing and different combinations being tried out, and you're thinking, no, like, it's right there in front of you, just pick these two together and it's going to work. And I'm so glad it is working, and I hope that they stick to it. That, you know, because the problem with combinations is that they work until they don't work for a game or two, and then there's always that you know, that temptation to go, okay, well, now we've got to try somebody else. And, you know, it's one of those ones where I feel like with a combination like this, that where it feels like they're on the same wavelength with each other, that you stick with them and through that rough period, and then they're going to repay you, I think, tenfold at the back of that. Also, it's great to see the debate about in terms of the 10 is settled, you know, because there was the whole thing, was it going to be Allen, was it going to be Garbisi, were they going to try and bring somebody else in? Lamro then, just a fantastic captain, seems like a fantastic human being as well. And I've said it before, this guy is going to inspire generations of Italian rugby players. He's going to be, you know, he's going to be, I think, such a kind of lightning rod for the younger generations of Italians who are coming through. Somebody that I can look up, I can go, that I want to be like him. And I'm convinced that the Italian captain who lifts Italy's first Six Nations trophy is absolutely going to reference Michel Lamro as one of their inspirations. I also think Caseda has done a great job in a very short period of time. You know, they were competitive in pretty much every game except that one against Ireland. And, you know, they're in a great place, and I'm basically looking forward to see how this team continues to rise. It's not going to be like linear upwards curve. It never is for any team, but I do think, as you know, as a team under Quesada and as a Rugby Nation, it's one of these ones where they're definitely on an upwards trend.